a show with a jolt. Woo!
Oh, well, I am definitely charged up for the holiday now.
What holiday is that? Halloween? The day where blood-curdling screams aren't confined to a divorce lawyer's office? Lots of pesky ghosts flying around like a bunch of ghoulish drones.
Well, I hope some of them are friendly.
Hey, I'm a friendly ghost.
Don't forget, the witches have to share the space too. They're like drones as well. And Susan, I have a big Halloween gig with the band. Hey, I gotta get the shameless plugs in somehow, you know?
You are shameless,
Yes,
Bill.
I am. And Susan, I heard you had a chance to visit some local haunted houses now. Are you finished with your therapy yet?
Well, that would be scream therapy,
Yes.
and yes, I think I've managed to get over it, so
Okay.
onward and upward. I had a chance to visit the amazing haunted Wraith House in Laguna Niguel. Now, the tour is complete with living dead, dry ice punch, and fancy animatronics. But this stopover is not for the faint of heart.
So I should take my pacemaker off.
Wobbly, wobbly. Welcome to the Wraith House. We are in this amazing haunted house in a neighborhood in Laguna Niguel. Now, here with us today, we have a father-daughter team, and that would be Matt and Peyton Murphy, who are going to fill us in on this amazing, truly amazing haunted house. So welcome, Matt and Peyton. I'm so glad to have you with us here today. Maybe you can fill us in on how long has this kind of open house been? How long have you been doing this?
Since about 2017, we have been doing, it started just in our garage and is now expanded through the entirety of the outside of our house and inside of our garage as well.
That's huge. Now, it goes on, give me some of the details here. How many days does it go on?
We're open for 3 days from 7:15 to 9:30 p.m.
Okay, and that would be the 29th, 30th, and 31st.
Yes.
Okay, and how many people have been through your haunted house?
Last year, what do you think our turnout was last year?
We had close to 400 people.
That's a lot in a neighborhood.
Yes.
Yes.
And we love our neighbors dearly and buy them nice wine for putting up with us every year. And the great thing about being at the end of a cul-de-sac is that we can have a queue line of people around. There's no houses at the very end of the cul-de-sac. So, and again, even one of our neighbors across the street, their son acts in the haunt.
Oh, so you're the perfect location. Now tell me, how many people are actually involved in this production? I mean, this is not just an open haunted house that people wander through. There's a whole cast of characters here that people are going to encounter. How many people?
Well, since we're profiting the Aliso Niguel Theater Company, we have quite a few of their actors here. I think we have around 15 actors this year. Most of them are from the Aliso Niguel Theater Company. Some of them are from past years. They love acting, so they always come back, and they're super fun, and we know them really well.
Okay. Now, who is the mastermind behind this? I mean, is haunted houses, is that in your blood? Have you been doing this sort of thing in other locations, or when you were a little kid growing up? How did this all play out?
It was interesting. Peyton, from a very early age, was fascinated with animatronics, and I would buy small animatronics to put in the windows at home. And although she was frightened of them when she was young, she was very taken with them. And as time went on, especially after we moved to this particular house, we decided, instead of just putting them in the windows, let's put them in a course that people can walk through.
Oh, okay.
And since that time, Peyton has become the artistic director of the haunt. She's the mind behind it. She tells me what she wants, and I build it for her.
Really amazed to see how many haunted houses there are around these days. Who knew? It's sort of like Halloween is becoming what we used to think of as Christmas and holidays. everybody's into haunted houses and Halloween themes. I understand this is really gathering momentum and that you were part of a survey of haunted houses. There are professional and neighborhood haunted houses. And there are, maybe you can explain this a little bit more.
There are professional haunts where the people are charged to come in, and generally the rule in the industry is $1 per minute for how many minutes it takes to get through the haunt. So our haunt takes between 7 and 9 minutes to get in. We don't charge, but we're taking donations this year for the benefit of the Aliso Niguel High School Theater Company. And this has become just an explosion of spending. Lord knows Peyton's getting most of her inheritance now with everything that we have. This year alone, we have 7 professional animatronics that are set off by either laser triggers or infrared triggers.
Could you explain what that means exactly? A professional animatronic.
Yes.
What is that exactly?
Well, there are animatronics that a lot of Halloween lovers have that come from places like Spirit Halloween, where they have instructions that you can set up and you can build, and they're set off by motion sensors that a lot of people have. Those are very older, they're a lot older models of animatronics, things that you can build at home. The more professional ones are the newer models. And the newer models have more motion, and you don't set them up at your house. They're shipped to you already built by professionals, and they have a lot more range of motion, and the triggers, a lot of the times they're just on running tracks, so they're not set off by any triggers. But the laser triggers are basically on one end, there is a box that has a laser that goes and points to another box, and when somebody walks in between the 2 boxes, it sets off the animatronic. So you have to line up the 2 perfectly to make sure that both of the lasers are lined up, and then when somebody walks through, the animatronic goes off.
So this is a very technical aspect of
to run the professional animatronics. They're pneumatic, so you need to have an air compressor. That's what moves a lot of the parts. The more at-home type things that Peyton was talking about, from Spirit Halloween and Home Depot, they're generally plug and play. You plug them in, they have pre-recorded tracks. They say the same thing over and over. These animatronics we have that are professional, they come with what are called boo boxes, and we can actually program them to do what we want them to do. We can put music into the soundtrack, we can put voices into the soundtrack. Most of them, though, however, are screaming memes. When they sit up, they scream at you and turn and look.
How frightening. So this is like your second cast of characters here, the animatronics, and then you have your actors that fill in, and this is just kind of a double whammy of sensory explosion here.
The actors are the most important. Animatronics add to the experience, but our actors, there's actually a skill to scare acting. It's different than theater acting.
Definitely.
And you interact with the audience much more so than you would on a stage. And Peyton teaches them what we call the 7-second rule, which is you get in, you make the scare, you get back out.
It's also a lot different from onstage acting because the type of people that go through haunted houses, especially on Halloween, normally are doing it because it's Halloween and not because they really love haunted houses. A lot of them have defense mechanisms when they're scared, as punching or slapping. So training the actors to look for the people that may be jumpy and try and hurt them is something that we also train our actors to do. And you have to be a certain breed of person to really enjoy scaring people and do it right.
So this can be a dangerous job.
It can, definitely.
Who knew?
Definitely.
Oh my gosh. Well, I've been through haunted houses before where I would walk through and someone would grab my ankle, and of course, you know, your first reaction is, you can understand.
We're called a no-touch haunt.
Good.
There is a difference between touch haunts and no-touch. We use air compressors for air blasts. Those are the best scares because as people set off an air blast, something happens and they get hit with a puff of air, and it's very disconcerting. But we don't touch, and we insist that no one touch our actors either.
Now, I understand that your haunted house has been selected for a special program that's Netflix is doing. Is that right?
Yeah, a documentary on Netflix is coming out next year.
Yeah, next year.
All right.
Called Halloween Obsessed, and one of the episodes is featuring haunted houses, and we were selected to be in one of the episodes, which was really cool, and it was a lot of fun.
That is a huge honor because you said most of them are professional haunted houses that are out and
We're the
charge
only
a lot.
haunted home haunt that was accepted.
And congratulations on what you do. You are a great team here, too.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
We sent our video crew to capture the Mission Viejo Halloween decoration contest, and somehow they made it back alive with some disturbing footage. Check this out, if you dare.
Spooky, scary skeletons play them both like xylophone. When the lights go out and you're all alone, when the phone go dead, ain't nobody home. Then you hear them footsteps on the stairs. Quick but feet, ain't no one there. You see flashing disco chandeliers, then dancing skeletons appear. Spooky, scary skeletons, socially all the same. The silence travels slowly by, the dark is so insane. Seasons to break your bones, it's all I'm making fools. Spooky, scary skeleton to wake you with. Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down the spine. Shrieking souls will shock your souls to your doom tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons speak with such a screech. You'll shake and shudder in surprise with these zombies shriek. We're so sorry, skeletons, you're so misunderstood. You only want to socialize, I don't think we should. The spooky, scary skeletons shout silently screams. They'll take from their sarcophagus, just won't leave you be.
Our next trip of terror takes us to Mission Viejo, where I visited the Prism House. We were greeted by foggy passages that would put a London pea soup to shame, perfect camouflage for monsters to lay in wait and spring out when you least expect. And if you make it through the murky labyrinth, you come into a mad scientist lab that's chock full of sinister surprises. I'm here in Mission Viejo for a very special Halloween experience. We're going to be exploring the Prism Haunted House. And with us today is David, the mastermind behind this very creative experience.
Hello, good evening.
We're so happy to have you here with us, David. And can you tell us, how did this whole thing come about? This is in a neighborhood. When did it start? Give us some background.
So this is our 4th year running. We started it when we actually bought the house. So the first year we were in the house, it was kind of like, hey, I've always done decorations to the extreme, and it was just our time to actually build a walkthrough experience. Okay. So yeah, 4 years.
This is your 4th year with this haunted house, but you've done this before.
Yeah.
Every year.
Every year.
Oh.
Even during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you did this before in another location too.
No, so it's always been at our house.
At your house.
Yep, every single year.
In Mission Viejo.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now this is a very different kind of experience. It's not just a walk through haunted house, but there's a story that goes with it as
there is.
You walk through. So people must go through fairly slowly so they can absorb the whole.
So we've been heavier on the story in prior haunts. There's an underlying story that sets the premise for the haunt this year. So the idea is that there's this big evil corporation, as there often is, that franchises out laboratories to would-be home scientists.
You can have your laboratory in your own home?
Laboratory in a box.
Create your own Frankenstein if you want to.
Bingo. But like Frankenstein, things often go wrong when you tinker with science and you don't know what you're doing.
True.
So the micro lab, this is micro lab 4 for our 4th year doing it. This is the result of one of those doctors maybe overextending themselves with their home laboratory.
Well, we had a sneak preview just walking through, and I was stunned at the high-tech special effects that you have going on there.
Thank you.
You must have a very sophisticated technical background to come up with all of these special effects.
Yeah.
And what you've done. What is your background?
So I used to work in the tech industry. I used to work at PayPal up in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And every approach I take to a haunted house is I'm looking for a scalable model, right? So a model that we can have a repeat experience that's taken over by a piece of technology that can just give the the guests that come through the best experience possible every single time. There's a place for live actors, and we've got tons of live actors in this, but there's also a place for technology to fill in those gaps and to build worlds and experiences that you can't just do with static props and actors.
Right.
So we try to work that stuff in just to leave people like amazed. You know, like I want guests who come through to think like, how did they do that when they leave the haunt, you know, because that's the magic of, you know, entertainment. So
now, do you make movies too? I mean, you're very sophisticated with all of this.
I don't, but one of my partners who helps me with a lot of the videography in the haunt, he does make movies.
Does.
Yeah, Andrew.
Okay.
Andrew,
all right. Now, what's such a surprise is that you drive into this neighborhood. We're kind of at a cul-de-sac here in a neighborhood, an ordinary neighborhood, and here is this big haunted house. Now, it's not just, you're not going to miss it. No one is going to miss this. It is
sticks out like a sore thumb.
It does. Now, your actual house, this is all around on the outside of your house.
Yeah, so this year we're all in like the front yard. So you actually end up going through our front yard, through our porch area, around our garage, kind of around part of the side of our house, and then out into our driveway.
Well, one would never know that. I felt like I was going through someone's basement down there. I mean, it was very close and interesting things around. And
that's the idea, right? We want you to be transported to another world when you go through.
Well, now, is there, what about little kids? Well, first of all, tell me, is there an age limit on who can come through here? Or
So we generally tell people 10 plus. There's, you know, bright lights, loud noises, and scary monsters. We leave it open to parents to determine if their children are up for the challenge, but we've had little ones come through intimidated at first, but then enjoy it so much that they came back through a second time.
Oh my gosh.
It's definitely not like happy pumpkins and like goofy ghosts. It's a little more on the scary side, but you know, some kids love it.
So you have a cast of characters here who are getting in costume, getting ready to surprise and scare everyone. And to go through the haunted house, do you buy tickets or?
So we are a completely free haunted house. We are,
really?
we're a community-based haunted house. Like most of our actors in the haunt this season are kids who grew up going through the haunt in prior years. Yeah, and now they're finally old enough to participate.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. And like in fact, you can hear them probably giggling in the background right now. But yeah, it's completely free. We just love Halloween. We love being creative, and we just want to share that with everyone. So everybody's just welcome to come on through. We do ask, go to our website, prismhaunt.com. We have all of the information about location, hours that we're operating, and then also you can let us know that you're coming. There's a way to like book a free ticket, so we have a heads up that you're coming. Just it helps us plan the night of, just to know how many people are going to be showing up. So.
And speaking of that, how many people typically do you have go through in an evening?
So it varies quite a bit. Saturdays tend to be heavier than Fridays. We're open just Fridays and Saturdays this year, and then we're also open Sunday, October 31st. But we've been open for one weekend so far, and we've had about 700 people through.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's in one Friday and Saturday.
And that's in 700 people. Well, how late does it go on until?
We're only open from 7 until 9, so just a couple hours
really
every
pack
night.
Them through.
We do. We try to space people out as much as possible because we don't want groups running into each other in the haunt because, we don't want the surprise to be spoiled. So we try to space people out, but, we also try to make sure that we're respectful of the neighborhood. Like, we want to close by a reasonable hour before people are going to bed and before, like, any kind of curfew.
Yeah, I certainly understand.
Yeah.
Well, looking online, I've read other people's thoughts about this place. I mean, you've been compared to the haunted house at Knott's Berry Farm. I mean, you are big time.
That's very flattering.
And all of this is in a quiet little neighborhood, except for this 1 week out of the year, 2 weeks out of the year.
Yeah.
I'm so intrigued to hear that this is slightly different every year. This is version number 4 this year.
Completely. So the underlying story remains the same, but the haunt changes completely from year to year.
So any big plans for next year you can let us know about, or do we have to just show up?
I mean, I don't want to spoil any surprises or anything, but, with our haunt last year, we really leaned very heavily into technology for our open air show that we were doing.
Of course.
And next year, we're really excited to incorporate a lot of the elements, the technological elements from that experience with the more traditional walkthrough that we have this year.
Okay.
Kind of blending of the worlds, like the physical world and the technology world, and really just making something that people won't be able to forget.
Very impressive what you have going here. And I do hope that some of our residents from Laguna Woods will come and take advantage of this. I mean, it is quite an amazing experience, and
Thank you.
what a wonderful gift to the community, to your neighborhood, and all of that. A very enjoyable experience.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you, David, so much.
My pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed your spooky trek down Misery Lane of the local Halloween haunts. I know it sent shivers down my spine like a letter from the IRS.
Ah, hey, wait a minute, Bill. I saw you cleared things up with a tax man.
Well, IRS agent Lugosi stated two things you can count on: taxes and death. I'm heading to Transylvania. Great tax laws. So I'll see you.